Last week, we started the sermon with a masterpiece from one of the most prominent, one of the most prolific, and certainly one of the most important figures in the literary history of the West, Rudyard Kipling. That piece was The Wrath of the Awakened Saxon. I won't repeat it to you this week. In fact, I'm going to give you a homework assignment that by the end of the year, I'd like to see you all have it memorized. But even assuming you don't, culture is going to do it for us. The whole vibe of The Wrath of the Awakened Saxon was the pressure being felt, witnessing the imminent death, the imminent decline. I say imminent, but not inevitable, decline of Western civilization at the hands of other cultures that have been welcomed in due to our kind nature, but that we are finding culturally incompatible with the cultural and civilization standards given to us by the magnificence that is the West. My goodness, Bart, you're simping a little bit for Western civilization. Yes, I am a self-identified Western chauvinist, and I believe that Western civilization unequivocally is God's highest expression on this planet. I digress. We opened the program with Wrath of the Awakened Saxon last week, so art imitating life. The elections in Saxony. That's right. A region of Germany that was formerly part of the communist bloc. That'll become more important later in the program. In fact, that'll become more important later in the opening. It seems, ironically enough, that regions and countries and people that were part of the old communist bloc are the only ones who realistically assess the threat presented to us by this invasion by these incompatible cultures. In Saxony, the mainstream media lamented that a far-right party had won, the ADP to be specific. And it was the first time that a far-right party had won in Germany since, well, that fellow with the funny mustache. And of course, like they said about Meloni when she took power in Italy, it was Mussolini 2.0. Well, the ADP in Saxony was the, what would that be, the Fourth Reich at this point? The election was overturned. You see, the election in Saxony put the ADP in a position where they could absolutely stop any legislation opening the borders further to migration. Let's call it what it is, invasion. They were in a position to put a stop to it. But thanks to what we were told was a software glitch, after the uproar at their victory, one of their seats was taken away and 2 seats were given to their opponents, taking away their ability to stop the immigration, even though the overwhelming majority of the populace had already demonstrated that they wish for those policies to be put in place. After all, there's no sacrifice too great at the altar of diversity. Diversity is our strength. How do these far-right parties get the idea that such cultures might be incompatible? It certainly couldn't be the rash of church burnings all over Europe. It certainly couldn't be any of the fires that have broken out in historic chapels under mysterious circumstances that our propaganda ministry insists are total coincidences. It certainly couldn't be that. And here's an odd question, and I'm sure there's got to be at least one woman on the panel here today over in the comments. Where are the feminists on this one? Speaking of cultural incompatibility, take a look at these regions. Getting back to what I was saying about former communist bloc regions, you'll notice that there isn't a prevalence there. Why? Because the former communist bloc countries, places like Poland, places like Hungary, thank God for Viktor Orban, have refused this invasion. All of the countries you see in Western and Northern Europe and in Scandinavia have allowed it. And the rape statistics reflect that. These rapes are not statistically being committed by native-born citizens. And it got so overwhelming in Sweden that the rapes that were being committed were, to the point of exclusivity, being committed by migrants. But Sweden took a bold stance to take action against that. They promptly stopped keeping track of the national origins of rapists. Not before we got to see these statistics, however. 2010 was when they stopped keeping track. Up until that point, we got to see on a graphic, and these graphs track exactly with the influx of migrants from these incompatible cultures. Thank God for people like Nigel Farage, who doesn't mind saying, though it be blasphemy again at the altar of diversity, pro rata Sweden has taken more young male migrants than any other country in Europe, and there has been a dramatic rise in sexual crime in Sweden, so much so that Malmo is now the rape capital of Europe. Now, that statistic doesn't hold anymore, as the fact checkers will be quick to point out. It is a different city in Sweden that now holds the title, but Sweden still holds the national title, and I guess that's a badge of honor. It is at the altar of diversity. Keep saying it to yourself. Diversity is our strength. Why did Sweden take in all these people? Because that is the nature of the West. That is the nature of this civilization. We believe the best in others. We believe in charity. We believe in the Christian principle of forgiveness to the point of our own destruction. But that's Europe. Certainly different over here with our open border policy. We certainly haven't seen anything like that. This is a Haitian migrant in Ohio. That duck was taken from a public park. Now it has gotten to the point where accusations stand that these migrants are eating pets, regardless of Springfield, Ohio. Let's just cast the eating pets thing to the side for a minute. Springfield, Ohio has a total population of 60,000 people. In the last 3 years, they have been flooded with 20,000 migrants from Haiti, almost to the point of exclusivity. This isn't from an open southern border where they're walking across. No, far worse. This is from a program where the regime is actively flying these immigrants into the country. The program is called Refugee Amnesty. You can do the homework yourself and look it up. Now, of course, the mainstream media is once again assuring us that that couldn't be correct, that these are just racist buzzwords and dog whistles for the far right, those evil bastards. And then this old woman went before the Springfield, Ohio City Council and told her story. And she was but one of many. Her and her elderly and disabled husband are going to have to leave their home in Springfield because day after day they wake up with people who don't live there camping out in their front yard, screaming at them in a language that they cannot understand. The police don't have the resources, even if they did have the inclination. But again, these are all just extremist dog whistles, right? The same racist tropes that were thrown out during the last crisis in Haiti. Actually, I don't even know if that's an accurate statement, because the crisis in Haiti has existed ever since the slave rebellion that brought that country into existence. They share the same seismically active island with the Dominican Republic. They have more ports than the Dominican Republic. They have the same natural resources as the Dominican Republic because they're on the same island. And yet, you can literally tell where the border lies between Haiti and the Dominican Republic from space, looking down to see which side of that island has been absolutely stripped and raped of resources. But again, same media that assured us that the cannibal claims were just a smear against Haitian migrants are the ones who are assuring that there's nothing to Haitian migrants in Springfield eating people's pets and stealing ducks out of public parks. Read that headline again from NBC. Elon Musk, that dastardly right-wing bastion, and right-wing influencers use cannibal claims to smear Haitian migrants amid crisis. This is Jean Cherizier. Jean Cherizier may be better known to the world as Barbecue. Yes, that's his nickname. He is a Haitian warlord, and over the midst of the last 3 subsequent crises, he has risen to prominence for his use of cannibalism as a terror tactic. That's right. This warlord and his minions eat their victims to strike terror into the hearts of anyone who would rise up against him. This is the way of things in Haiti and most of sub-Saharan Africa, but we continue to insist that these people are just like us and that our cultures are compatible. But we're making it all up. The mainstream media insists that we made this part up too. The gang takeover in Aurora, Colorado. A Venezuelan gang. I'll be getting into them by name later on. They insisted, they gaslit us, that this was all right-wing dog whistles. That these things that we got to see with our own 2 eyes were figments of a right-wing imagination until the landlord of this particular complex, among others, was forced to sell the entire property. The name of the Venezuelan gang is Tren de Aragua. They are not quite MS-13, but they'll do until MS-13 gets here, and MS-13 is getting here. Coming over by the hundreds and the thousands and the tens of thousands, while they continue to gaslight us into thinking that every one of these things that we can see, smell, hear, taste, experience, and be victimized by are just products of a fevered right-wing imagination. That is the power of propaganda, boys and girls. There'll be a little bit more of that when we get into the rabbit hole, but for now, let's keep it focused on what's right in front of us. I'm going to drop this in for absolutely no reason at all. And I could hear you all breathe that collective sigh of relief. Finally, we're back on track. He hit us with an Orwell quote, and you knew that it would be this one. The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. The only thing that is no longer valid about this quote is that the word party should be replaced by regime or administration. Because the party is a uniparty, and the propaganda ministry that works on their behalf works for both puppets at the end of their respective right and left strings. The good news is the message is falling on deaf ears. The message is failing. But don't ever sell the power of propaganda short. And remember our discussion on the dichotomy between Huxley and Orwell. It does not have to be a war of people control as long as one party or the other has won the war for information control. Bearing that in mind, when we see their strategy for information control failing, you know that the war for people control is going to be right behind it. Rule out nothing between now and November, and rule out absolutely nothing afterwards. Chin down, knuckles up. The fight at this point is inevitable. The opinions expressed by the Reverend are his own and no one else's on the planet. Not friends, not foes, not supporters, not detractors, not sponsors. And even though I'm in between, I cannot stress this enough, certainly not employers for you Docs Happy Antifa maggots that are looking to send me to the unemployment line. They have been adjudicated thought crime in all jurisdictions. Consider yourself warned. They are coming from the heart. They are guided by the mind. They will be delivered by the knuckles, and these fingers are guaranteed to stretch open that pie hole and choke you with a big, turgid, swollen dose of truth cock, the likes of which your Jenna Jamesonian gag reflex is not equipped. Welcome back, boys and girls. I don't even know. Where the hell did that even... Dude, where did that even... Welcome back, guys. It's time for the sermon again. I'm glad you made it out. Jenna Jamesonian? Is that even... That's not even... It's the caffeine talking. I'm trying to find my level. We're going to do the roll call here. Let's see where the fire is. Everybody in for the drum roll. Jenna Jamesonian? You know, I don't even know why I went for Jenna, man, when I had like Bonnie Rotten right there. Bonnie Rottonian? I don't know. I don't even know anymore. I don't know where half of this stuff comes from, man. But I would be so lonely these days without these voices in my head, so I'm thankful for their presence. And I'm thankful for your presence, people. We're going to do a quick roll call. Coming out of the starting gate, hard charging as we do every single week that we do a sermon with Red Desert, a gut-stomping rock and roll band from the smoldering embers and smoking ruins of the once great American city of Minneapolis, Minnesota. The name of the band is Red Desert. The name of the track is Older, No Wiser. Every week I get a little bit older. Every week you guys get to decide if I've gotten any wiser. Some weeks I do better than others. Given that Jenna Jameson thing I just pulled out of my ass, this might not be one of those weeks, but we're going to roll with it anyway, man. Let's see who is on board. The divine Miss Emmy, the original sinner sister herself. Good to have you on board, Mama. Always a pleasure to see you. JT, last of the Grady Park hooligans. Brother, I cannot tell you how much I miss the days, man. I get out in the garage and I start doing my Cinewally 6 counts, and I just think, man, what I would give to have JT up here to get some stick work in, man. But depending on how some things go, I may be a little closer than either one of us would have expected. So, man, just for old time's sake, we got to roll our asses out to Grady Park and beat the shit out of each other for a little bit. You know, because that's how we show love, brother, right? Am I with it? Right. Miss Charlie showing up. Good to see you here, hon. Who else have we got on board, man? Of course, we've got, oh, nice, man. David, glad you made it out. I was worried that we lost you there for a minute. Brother Doug Turtle Castel, good to have you, man. God bless you. I have been, you know, I've thought about you quite a bit the past couple of weeks, man, because I've had some really good spiritual opportunities. I've been able to fellowship. I went to a new congregation over in Wenatchee yesterday to meet. I'll get into all of that later, but man, I cannot think about matters of a spiritual or church nature without you popping into my head, brother. And God bless you, and I hope that you're doing all right. Brother Tracy, my goodness, what's the good word? Dude, I got to tell y'all, for those of you guys aren't familiar with Tracy, Tracy is a very, very big human being, man. A very big and somewhat menacing human being, says the guy who's clearly menacing. But Tracy is an old and dear friend, man. We go back a long way. And Tracy has seen me, he's seen me arrested. He has seen me dead, literally dead. And he has also seen me naked, standing on my head, singing the Star Spangled Banner. True story. Hashtag True Bart Stories. We'll get into that one of these days. But yeah, man. The Sultan of Sarcasm, Joey Nunn. Capitalism is spelled almost the same as cannibalism. You know, we're going to see how that plays out, brother. Brother Bill Wade. Hello, my brother in Christ. Good to see, man. Hail, hail. The Bratva is all here. Good to see you guys, man. And I'm looking forward, hopefully sooner than later, getting down and seeing the rest of the crew. Look at this, man. Who else have we got? Deacon Mark. Speaking of my Texas crew, driving home from Nacogdoches, man. I hope I can keep you entertained on the road. Hopefully, we're not throwing out too much stuff that's going to make you laugh too hard, because I would hate to be responsible for that traffic accident. Of course, Sister Ida, Jayville misses you, man. I miss you guys, dude. You guys are I just love to be able to bring it to you, man. Just knowing y'all are out there, knowing that I've got that bond, knowing that I've got that circle, knowing that I've got that family of like-minded, kindred spirits, man. And and we're all bonded in Christ and bonded in the light of truth, and it's a wonderful thing. It's a damn wonderful thing. Brother Wayne, all the way from my high school days up in North Carolina, the mighty, mighty Stone on board. Missed you, brother. Glad you're here. And of course, Roman and his lovely wife, Carrie from OpiumTales.com. Happy you guys are on board, man. Always a pleasure to see y'all. And again, if this thing pans out, I'm going to be a little bit closer, so maybe we'll actually be able to get some FaceTime, but I don't want to jinx it. What do we got? Oh, look at this, man. All right, everybody right now, I'm going to fade this back a little bit, and I want everybody on 3 to say happy birthday to Ryan, because we just missed the birthday yesterday. Just missed it. So on 3, 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Ryan. God bless you, brother. That is, man, I'm glad you made it. Glad you made it. Kind of rolled with, we had a couple of rabbit hole options, but I think you're going to dig which one I decided to roll with, because I couldn't get it out of my head, bro. I have these conversations with Ryan sometimes during the week, and it'll get me spun up, and then this thing that he has hit me with will just grind, and I can't get around it, man. But tell Chase I said hello as well, man. Give him a hug from Uncle Bart, and hopefully I'll be seeing both y'all sooner than later. Yes, indeed. So, I think that covers the roll call. We're going to go ahead and fade this bumper music out. We're going to get busy with this thing. Once again, we are bringing it to you on a Monday. And I know that's kind of like breaking the pattern. I know it's kind of breaking the whole message, breaking the whole theme of the Sunday sermon. But the whole premise of Sundays is that that's what we leave aside for the boss man and the carpenter kid. And on that level, it has been really, really good this past couple of Sundays. I got out to you guys that follow my personal page on Facebook. I have known Aubrey Fusselman forever. Aubrey and I go like way, way back. And when she first got with her husband Nate, I was enthused, man. I was enthused because it looked like he was really bringing an energy to her that I had not seen in a long time. And we have been interacting online for years and years and years, and having the same kind of long conversations you would with a friend that you had known. And it really had developed that level of intimacy, which is something that's only possible in the internet age. But I felt like I'd known him all my life. And as of yesterday, I finally got to meet him face to face in the flesh. And it was every bit what I had expected and then some. He met and exceeded every expectation. He is all man. He is an alpha. He is a man of God. He is a man of faith. He is a man of skills. He is a man of integrity. We walked the property. We went up there on Badger Mountain. They got a beautiful spot up above the cloud cover outside of Wenatchee. And I went to their church. I went to the church there in Wenatchee. And what an amazing, amazing place. This is the thing. And my home church here in Spokane, On Fire Ministries, has a lot in common with that church. Both of these churches are they're very Scripture and Christ and Spirit centered. You know what I mean? And I need that. I have to have that. These are not things that are negotiable. And it took me a long time to find a church like that. The thing is, they have the house band, that is up there doing, the spiritual music. They have their youth center that they built out there. They have, their adjacent buildings where they're now doing a Christian school academy type situation out there. I hate that the Osteens of the world have ruined that for everyone else, because I got to tell you, man, when I think of spirit filled And when I think of Christ-centered and scripture-centered, I think of like old school Southern, like particularly like a Southern black church. You know what I mean? Like you get in there and you feel the vibe and people are dancing in the aisles and they're, glory, hallelujah, and bringing the fire and brimstone and you feel it. You know what I mean? Um, and so there's sort of a built-in preconceived vibe when you walk into a place where it's like really really cool, where they've got a well-appointed coffee table right when you walk in the door, you know what I mean, and you get to tank up on some cold brew before you go in for the service and whatnot. But everything's really beautiful. It's really well appointed, and they have these things for the youth ministry, and they have these things for the kids, and they have these things for the family, and they have like the child care center and stuff like that. And so, because you see that with like the Osteen type prosperity gospel churches, there's part of you that just kind of bristles. And it's, once you get past it, and it's easy to get past it, but there's just that part of me that, and maybe it's just me, that just instinctively bristles. It's like, a whole lot of bells and whistles here, man. Like, what's really going on? And it's easy to feel that way for the uninitiated. But man, once you start shaking hands and once you start embracing, and because we hug around here, y'all. I don't know how y'all do it I don't know how y'all do it at Osteen's place, but we hug around here. And these people welcome you in like family, and the energy is fantastic, and everybody is there, and they're synced up, and they're praising God, and you can tell, man. It's just that's the thing that the guys that walk it like they talk it. There's a certain glow about them. There's a certain energy about those people, and it's man, it's undeniable. And then you get in and you hear the actual word that's being preached, and you actually hear the approach that they're coming at it with, and you actually can feel that depth of spirit coming from the pastor, and you're like, okay, again, it's probably just my hang up, and it's really cool too, because like the place that they're in is a community center that is across the parking lot from an old church dating back to like the early 1800s, and the wood frame with the big steeple and the cross on top and everything like that. And just on a gut level reaction, I see that building and I'm like, I want to go in there, but again, my walk is not with the building. My walk is with the carpenter. Y'all tracking, right? So no matter where you're bringing it, you can bring authenticity. You can bring a genuine spirit-driven vibe, right? No matter what. Osteen could do it in his spot. He doesn't, but he could, and it probably is just my hang up. In fact, I'm almost sure it's just my hang up. But I see the well-appointed building and I bristle a little bit. But I knew after hearing it from Aubrey, and I knew after hearing it from Nate, I was like, this place is gonna feel like home, and it did. And I promise, man, if I could make that 2.5, 3 hour commit, right? Exactly, right? So how Osteen rolls, and you would expect that, dude. These people, if there was a blizzard or a wildfire, these people would not only have the doors open, they'd be setting up tents in the parking lot. They'd be sending trucks up Badger Mountain to pull people out of the flames, man. That's who they are. They just happen to be in a really nice, pristine building, and it's my hang up that I look at the building and I bristle. But the word coming from Aubrey and the word coming from Nate and the first two people that I spoke to, I was like, no, this is home. If I could make that 2.5, 3 hour drive, I'd be rotating every week, man. Every week I'd be out off to Wenatchee, and then I'd be back to On Fire Ministries in Spokane. I just alternate Sundays, man. It was a really good vibe, a really good energy, phenomenal people. And then afterwards, I went out to the property with Nate and Aubrey, and we got to fellowship, and we got to talk, and we got to do some deep dives. And you can't put a price. You can't put a price on that kind of fellowship, I know that Deacon Mark knows what I'm talking about. I know that Bill knows what I'm talking about. I know that Turtle knows what I'm talking about. Whenever we are able to get together, and have that depth. It's like nothing needs to be explained. Nothing needs to be explained. We are all walking in the light of truth. We are all walking in the light of Christ. And there's some things that don't even need to be spoken. So you can blow past all the superficial stuff and get right into the meat of it and do some deep work with the heart and deep work with the spirit. And you can't put a price on that. So on the one hand, I do apologize for not being able to be here with you guys on a Sunday, but sometimes things are more important, and I know that you guys that are here understand that. You guys that are here understand that, and I love y'all for that. A couple of quick sponsor shout outs. Let me just get them out of the way real quick. Of course, Roman and his lovely wife Carrie and Roxy and Allie and the bevy of beautiful women over at opiumtales.com. They are the erotic pinups and portraits people. Roman is doing some wonderful watercolor work over there. And don't forget to buy his book on Amazon, Roman Riva. You look it up, From Dork to Pimp Daddy. It's his whole journey, man. He went from being just Joe working class, tech schlub to dude that is paid for the privilege of painting beautiful naked women. So you've got beautiful naked women, you've got creative endeavors, and you got testosterone-driven commentary on Planet Bart. We call that a trifecta. That's opiumtales.com, the erotic pinups and portraits people. And thank you to Roman, not just for supporting the program, for being such a close and dear friend for so many, many years, man. That's another one of those guys. It's like, we get in a conversation, we pick up right where we left off. Nothing needs to be explained. Those bonds are important. Those bonds are really, really important. And it's not just for people that share. I mean, Ryan and I, man, no matter what, we could go 6 months, without having any kind of physical face-to-face contact, and we pick it up, boom, because even though we do not share the faith, we have enough common ground and are rooted in enough common truth and common, just common morality, right? For lack of a better word, a common code that a lot of the superficial stuff you don't even need to explain it. And I love those bonds. I really do. Of course, my Viking brothers, Casey and Dusty Tellison, Nordic Smoke Barbecue, the only legit barbecue in the Inland Northwest. Period. End of statement. Sit down. Shut up. You're wrong. They are it. They are it. And the long ship is back out sailing the asphalt seas. They've been doing a lot of gigs down in Spangle. You can check them out on all of their social media profiles. Start with Facebook, because Dusty does some video one-offs over there. He does a really mean Gene Okerlund. He does a really mean Randy Macho Man Savage. Dude, he's got some funny stuff. His little promo pieces for Nordic Smoke. You're going to want to check that out. And you can keep up the schedule if you're in the Spokane area and find out where you're going to be able to get on some of that product, because it is amazing. I hate that Dennis isn't here to back me up and verify that. But if you guys want to find out, you're just going to have to come up and visit. And I hear that the Northwest is very nice this time of year. So now that we have gotten past that, you already know where we are headed. Let me click over here. You guys know what we always open with, the most important segment of the program, the most popular, and that is Ryan's Rabbit Hole. Thank you. Yeah, hey, nice of you to come up. Thanks. Right on. Ryan's Rabbit Hole. Yeah, you guys taking it? All right, yeah. No, settle down. Settle down. I really hope that y'all can hear that applause sound effect, because if not, I have got to look like I've been huffing glue for the past 3 days, when in fact it's only been a couple hours right before I went to air. So I wouldn't want to paint an incomplete picture there. Anyway, Ryan's Rabbit Hole. You guys already know the bond that Ryan and I have. He got me into the crane game. He's been a dear friend of mine for a long, long time. One of the things that we bonded over early was our shared appreciation for the obscure and esoteric. We are both repositories of useless information. Our brains are filled with things that to other folks just slipped off the radar. So every week we do a little thing called Ryan's Rabbit Hole. We give you a rabbit hole. We let you decide how far you want to go down that rabbit hole and how far you want to chase it. There's a little something to take you out of your comfort zone, a little something to take you off the beaten path. Sometimes It lines up with the rest of the stuff we're going to be talking about in the sermon. Sometimes it does not, but it is always entertaining. You can look at it and it'll be an event that you weren't aware of, a historical figure that you weren't aware of, some bizarre phenomenon that twists your mind up in a really insane way that you've never heard of. But it's always there to try to get you thinking outside of the box and thinking in different directions. Because if you don't rub those brain cells together, there is no friction. If there is no friction, there is no heat. If there's no heat, there is no light. And without the heat and the light, you don't have the fire. And we got to keep the fire burning up here, people, because there's everything out there trying to smother it out. So this is your search engine. And Ryan, I did kind of presume on picking this one a little bit. Your search term for Google or DuckDuckGo is, are you ready? Roll the dice. Drum roll, please. Finland doesn't exist. I'll wait for you to process that. That's right. Finland doesn't exist. Now, I could just drop those three words and let you roll with it, but I'm actually trying to make a point with this here that dovetails off one of the things I was talking about in the opener. OG Mike D, good to see you, brother. God bless you, man. We need to get that conversation in. I do have some time, and we can do a sit down. And depending on how some things work out, I may be able to do it face to face in your own backyard. Let me get back with you on that once I get some confirmation, things a little more nailed down. But I am looking forward to that, whether we got to do it by Zoom or face-to-face. But, brother, thank you for coming out. OG Mike D, man, Mike D'Armata, we are bonded, brother, bonded. In any case, Finland doesn't exist. What? Finland doesn't exist? What the hell are you talking about? I just want you to drop that in your Google search engine. Drop it in your Google search engine. I want you to drop it into your DuckDuckGo, right? Here's the supposition and the larger point that we're trying to make. You can find clips online of people who think themselves quite the intellectual, usually fresh off the stripper pole. You know my theory on the smartest woman in the smartest stripper in the titty bar. You'll find plenty of those types, and they'll get out there and they will spew this thing because they've heard it. And the one fallback plan that they always come back to is, well, have you ever met anyone from Finland? Right? Neat. Okay. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence, pretty lady. But anyway, this is the theory, and the guy has completely fleshed it out. The first thing that is going to pop up in your search results is going to be a YouTube video. I want you to watch that video. Finland doesn't exist, conspiracy theory in parentheses, the parenthetical phrase. He makes a fascinating case. He really does, as do most of the weirdo conspiracy theories like Tartarian mud flood and no, flat Earth is just dumb. But like most of the really, really out there ones, Paul McCartney was replaced by a body double, stuff like that. Things that you don't necessarily believe, but you sit back and you reflect on it and you go, wow, damn if he didn't make a good case for it. Here's the larger point about that. And I'm just going to leave that rabbit hole for you guys to go down as far as you want. The basics of it is that Nokia as a company is based somewhere completely else, that the actual Nokia city in Finland doesn't exist, that Simo Häyhä was part of World War II mythology, that there was no Great War between Finland and Russia, that Russia used that as an excuse to dispose of bodies that were killed off in the Gulag. Tons of stuff, but bottom line being that it is a large area of open ocean and that Japan needed a place to fish after they took away Japan's whaling, and they needed a place to continue whaling on the down low and to fish in this location. So people who say that they're Finnish are actually Swedish, right over there next to Sweden, that it is a big area of open ocean. And when you go, look, dude, this doesn't sound right. Well, dude, have you ever been there? You ever been there? Right? Have you ever been there? Do you know anyone from Finland? Actually, I do know a few people from Finland. And Tracy, if you're still on board, you remember a certain gentleman from Finland. Poor hapless Rick, man. May you rest in peace. But that's not the point. The point is this: one of the second or third that you are going to find in your search results is he goes on Reddit by the name Rarigans, right? And the guy's real name is Jack, by the way. He threw this out as one of those things just to see who would bite, in the same way that the 4chan guys said that this was a white supremacy symbol and everybody took it and ran with it, and now it's just like taking on a life of its own. That's what he did with this conspiracy theory. It was a deliberate fabrication. It was deliberate fabrication and planted seeds. And dude, trust me, the deeper you go down this rabbit hole, you're going to be like, wow, man, people really bought that. And then on the other hand, you're going to be like, wow, that actually is a really damn good case if I didn't know better. But the guy's been outed now, and he basically said that he did this just on a goof. But that is the power of propaganda. That is the power of propaganda, particularly with regard to, yeah, no. See, because I wanted to get, we're going to do that one. We're going to do that one and Dillinger all in. We're going to sweep. I have a phallocentric sermon planned for next Sunday, and I think you're gonna like the way it rolls with it. And we're gonna get Napoleon, we're gonna get Dillinger, we're gonna get. Just trust me on this one, man. But so this is the thing. The seeds were planted. Seeds were planted on Reddit, and it took on a life of its own. And now you have people who are absolutely convinced. You have people who are absolutely convinced, and they will not be dissuaded from it. That once these things have taken hold in a person's head, once they have taken on the status of an article of faith, they will not be talked out of it, even in the face of mountains of empirical evidence otherwise. Even with a confession from the guy that told him that in the first place, hey, bro, I just want to let you know I was totally lying to you. I made the whole thing up. There is a hardwired part of your brain that wants, no, you're lying to me now. You weren't lying to me then, but you're lying to me now because I'm already dialed into this. The way this ties in with the rest of the sermon is when we get into the stuff on Yuri Besmenov a little bit later. But when you're going down this rabbit hole, I don't want you to just pay attention to the actual items, right? I don't want you to just pay attention to the points that he was making about Japan needing a new whaling ground or needing to be able to do commercial fishing, everything like that. I want you to examine this through the lens of, if I were trying to manipulate someone's consciousness. I don't want you to look at the facts as they're presented to make the case. I want you to study the process. I want you to study the process with a view toward looking at, why was this idea so believable, even to people who should have theoretically known better, right? You guys know that propaganda is my jam, that the way that people manipulate consciousness, that is my jam, particularly on a large scale. It's always fascinated me. But this is a really neat example. You know, when Ryan first threw it out at me, it was just, we were just kind of kicking the ball around. But then I went past like looking at the actual case that the guy was making and the way that he put the case together, right? To get in there and tweak people's consciousness a little bit, right? I'm going to throw out a theory that some people just have a far more highly tuned bullshit vector. Some people have a much more highly tuned rejection filter for things. I don't know if it's genetic, or I don't know if it's something that people hone over the years, or whether it's socially conditioned or what, but there are some people that can spot propaganda, that can spot bullshit from a mile away, which is not to say that they can't be taken advantage of too. There are no exceptions. Not me, not Ryan, not you. Yes, you. No one is exempt. You can get played, and plenty of people do. The minute you start thinking you can't is when it becomes easier to do so. But I want you to look at this. Finland doesn't exist. through the lens of how is he putting this together to affect what part of your thought process to make this palatable, right? Ponder it like that. And then definitely go through for it for the entertainment value, because it is tremendously entertaining. And since Ryan has already given it away, um, next week's sermon is going to deal with things of a phallic nature. Now, it falls on me to be able to construct the rest of the sermon around that phallic centrism. But at least one of you out there is saying, "Well, that should be easy, man, because you're a dick." Yeah, okay, cool. Take the low hanging fruit, bro. But Finland doesn't exist. That is your rabbit hole for the week, and I want you guys to take it and run with it. And again, look at it with a view toward not what he's trying to sell you, but the way that he is trying to sell it. Okay, because that's going to be the lesson, and that's going to be part of the lesson that there will be a homework assignment on for next week. So that's your rabbit hole on this 9th day of September in the year of our Lord 2024. Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Ryan's rabbit hole for the week. So what do you say we just go ahead and jump on into the meat of this thing? Let me see. I got a couple of things here on the production screen. I can deal with that. Here in a little bit. So, also real quick, I just want to say a rest in peace. I want to say a rest in peace to James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader, the man who played Thulsa Doom in the real Conan film directed by John Milius. Guy was a hell of an actor and one of the most memorable voices in the history of American culture. So may he rest in peace, man. 93 years old. I hope I get anywhere close to that run. So, awakened Saxony and the upcoming election. That is bullet point number 1. You guys know last week we opened with Wrath of the Awakened Saxon. And predictably you're going to catch hell for that, because it is no longer acceptable for people who are white and of European descent. Right. It was the way he put it. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So that's where we're going with that. Like I said, I knew you would approve of the way I came at it. But I'm actually looking forward to speaking intensely on Napoleon's penis next week. So that's going to be, it's going to be fun. Can't even remember where the hell I'm at now. Awakened Saxony and the death of the West. Bullet point number 1, awakened Saxony and the upcoming election. So you guys know about the ADP. The ADP, basically the media describes them as far right and neo-Nazis and hardcore right-wing extremists and every other damn thing, which means that they are probably good, decent, God-fearing people that don't pray for the imminent collapse of Western civilization. That's all that it takes to be a right-wing extremist nowadays. The ADP is a far-right party, and of course they went straight to the Hitler analogy, the same way they went straight to Mussolini for Meloni when she won as Italian prime minister. Because Italy, Mussolini, fascist, okay. She just happens to be a hot blonde Mussolini, which I can totally get behind. The point is this: the ADP won the election, and they won it handily. They won it very, very handily. And when you start doing a deep dive into the statistics of how they won, they broke it down by demographics. And the place where they had the biggest pull were young voters. People from 18 to 24, followed closely by 24 to 35. Those two demographics that typically always, because of the naivety of youth, what I call the Pollyanna factor for the young vote, they voted for the ADP overwhelmingly. They, unlike the older generations, haven't been beaten over the head with the Jewish guilt cudgel, right? That, Europe is too white. They have a diversity problem. Bang, bang, bang. The young kids aren't buying it. And you're right, Roman. That is a very good sign. But here's the point: they won. It was definitive. And in one of the most naked displays that I have seen outside of, well, Wisconsin in 2020, overnight they switched it up. The victory didn't give them a majority where suddenly they controlled all of Parliament. It gave them just enough of a majority to where any of the open borders globalists, their particular message could be blocked. Their particular policy could not be implemented. They had that sort of veto power. And it was only by one seat. And in the middle of the night, oh goodness, we counted this wrong. It was a software glitch. They didn't actually win after all. In fact, we're taking one seat away and we're giving the other side 2 seats. And now they can no longer stop that. Even though the will of the people is clear, even though the people have spoken loudly and distinctly across all ages and demographics, we don't want these savages anymore. They've been very clear about it. But the globalists, and particularly the European Union, all the guys in Brussels, no, sorry. It was a software glitch. When I tell you that everything that I'm talking about from here until November is in one way or another tied to November, I want you to believe me. I want you to take that at face value. Every single bit of this is about what is about to happen here. Far right in Europe, and let's examine Saxony, because I touched on this a little bit in the opener. Saxony is in a region that is formerly East Germany, right? Communist bloc regions. Look at all those old Com bloc countries. Poland, Hungary, right? They are politically beholden to the guys in Brussels. They are politically beholden to the EU. They are politically beholden to NATO, and that's another whole argument. But they straight up stole this. They straight up stole this seat. Little theft. They didn't take it to the point where they altered the results in a big, broad, sweeping, undeniable way. It was just these couple of districts. These couple of districts. And it was just a little software glitch. Anybody can make a mistake. But that little software glitch in those couple of districts and that one seat that they took away, they would have taken everything from the ADP if they could have. In the same way that the Democrats would have us locked up or dead if they only had the stroke. But it was a little theft. A little theft that meant the world. Let's take it back to 2020 for a minute and what happened in Wisconsin. We are in razor thin margins, people. I am going to continue to say vote. There are a whole lot of folks out there that have given me grief publicly and privately. Dude, you know they're just gonna steal it again. The Neil Rosses of the world. They're just gonna steal it again, bro. Why even bother? And you know what? It's entirely possible that they're correct. It is entirely possible that they're correct. But for the sake of my own conscience and for the sake of knowing that I did everything I could short of violence, should it, God forbid, come to that, I am going to continue to participate. So when I meet my maker, I can say, hey, did what I could. Every one of these districts in every one of these swing states. Hey, look who showed up. Hey, right on. Right. I'm voting for Trump. I'm betting on Harris. And dude, that is a position I can totally get behind. In my heart of hearts, I do believe that they are going to make every attempt to steal it. In my heart of hearts, I firmly believe that the fix is in. In my heart of hearts, I firmly believe that even if he blows the doors off the place and wins by a huge margin, there will be some shiesty goings on. They planned for it in 2020. You can look this up. Podesta gamed out a whole scenario that if Trump would have won by a wide margin, they were going to insist on the secession of the entire West Coast, Washington, Oregon, and California. Look it up. Every vote, every margin, every district, every single tick of the clock matters. All of it. It all matters. That's the danger of a clock that's just a little off. Thank you. If you see one that's several hours off, you see it immediately. If it's off by a little, then you don't notice as much until you are late. Same thing going with seat steal in Saxony, the upcoming election here. God love you, brother. God love you, Turtle. Spot on. They didn't have to make it look like a landslide in Wisconsin in 2020. You guys know the graph. I can pull it up here, but why bother? You know the graph. Tracking like this. Oh, they stopped counting at midnight and suddenly a straight up spike, and then it tracks like this for the rest of the count. It was fraud. It was obvious fraud. Well, 63 courts shut it down. No, 63 courts did not hear the evidence. Not one single court rejected that there was fraud. Not one. Because not one single court heard the facts of the case. They were dismissed out of hand based on standing. You do not have the standing to bring that case in this court. You can look that up for yourself. Do I think that the election was stolen? I think you could damn sure make a case for it. I will not say stolen because words mean things, and we've been over this before. I definitely will say that it was rigged. 51 former intelligence agents say that Hunter's laptop is Russian disinformation, and then it comes out that they knew that it was real all along. And then it comes out that a good 30% of the Democratic electorate would have voted differently if they would have thought that the laptop were even halfway legitimate. That's a rigged election by definition. The media playing along does part of the rigging. I don't care. Dude, wow, bro, you've really lost it. You're a conspiracy theorist now, man. You're just drinking the Kool-Aid. Yeah, okay, cool, fine. I don't care how I'm perceived anymore. The Neil Rosses of the world are over here like, dude, I don't know, you're just like pushing people to vote, you little vote cuck, like thinking that we have any input on the process and thinking that it's not like totally rigged. Man. Okay, bro, fine. I don't care how you perceive me either. I am speaking what I feel to be the truth. Let me rephrase that. I am speaking what I know to be the truth. I'm being abundantly clear in what I'm saying and what I'm not saying. Yes, they are going to make every attempt to steal this election. Yes, the fix is likely already in. Yes, those machines are already rigged. Yes, even if he wins by a too big to rig margin. Keep saying that. Too big to rig. Hashtag too big to rig. Even if he wins by those margins, they have backup plans. We are heading into uncharted territory. And this has got nothing to do with the Mango Menace. This has nothing to do with the Mango Menace. This has nothing to do with Darth Cheeto. This has to do with a party that is not going to let go of power. Oh, you talking about the Democrats, dude? Because what about the Republicans? And I'm like, yeah. What do you mean, yeah? Yeah. Do you think the Mitch McConnells of the world are less beholden to the globalists than the Kamala Harrises of the world? The only difference between the two of them is that one has a severe case of dementia and the other one chugs cock. If we were talking about Lindsey Graham, they might even have that in common. The point is this. Everything that we do matters. Just like in Saxony. Well, look what they did in Saxony, man. They just stole it. Yeah, they did. They did. They got away with it. They pulled it off. I want you to go back and reread what we opened the program with last week. We wait. Right, Joey. Nice. The awakened Saxon. We waited until every count could be proved. We're patient, willing to wait, slow to anger, but they simply will not relent. I don't believe for 1 second that they're going to relent. I don't believe that they have any intention through whatever means becomes necessary, up to and including another assassination attempt in broad daylight. But I'm voting anyway. And I need you to do the same. Do it for me, just to shut me up. How satisfying for the Olivias of the world. And I love you, Liv. You know this. You girl. Right? For the Olivias of the world, for the Don Troses of the world. Do it for me, man. Do it for me. So a year from now, you can go, dude, we voted, see how far that got us, dumbass. Okay, and I'll have to own it, and I will. You guys know me well enough. Software glitches. Do you realize, and this is the thing, Charlie Kirk came out with this, and what is the O'Keefe, James O'Keefe. They are organizing 40,000 body cams. What? 40,000 body cams for poll watchers. The most clear and transparent election in U.S. history is what we were told about 2020. Well, this time around, it's going to be, because every single poll watcher is going to be wearing a body cam. Everything that they had in their favor in 2020 to make it possible for them to rig this election is not going to be in their favor this time. Nobody believes the polls. Kamala is about to get destroyed in the debate tomorrow night. Destroyed. And they don't have any other fallback plans. They pulled one horse out of the race and decided to run this whore. Sorry, misspoke. She's going to get destroyed tomorrow. So the fake polls are not going to hold. And with 40,000 body cams walking around, it's going to be exceedingly difficult to pull this off. Are they going to try? Yeah. Vote anyway. One good piece of news. As of Friday, Mershon, and I really thought for sure that was going to be one of the, right. Yeah, she's their best plan. What does that say? She's been endorsed. Yeah, nothing says new way forward like getting endorsements from Dick Cheney, a war criminal who presided over, right, she could be, yeah, I'm gonna unburden the hell out of her. Unburden. She got endorsed by Dick Cheney, a war criminal who was responsible, a guy that I've been screaming about since he was in office. Responsible for the Patriot Act, responsible for the surveillance state, responsible for the Iraq War, responsible for the no-bid contracts to billion-dollar corporations like Halliburton, KBR, once it was all over with. That guy, a war criminal who shot a friend in the face, that guy endorsed her. Boy, nothing says change and a new way forward like that, huh? She's the best plan. So no, I don't think this is going to hold. Are they going to steal it? Damn right they're going to try to steal it. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, Halliburton / KBR. Damn it, you derailed me again, motherfucker. Yes, they're going to steal it. Yes, they're going to make every attempt in the world to keep that man from the Oval Office. Make him work for it. Make him work for it. And if you're not going to make him work for it, if you're going to be the Neil Rosses of the world and the Aaron Tons of the world, Nothing's going to change till we hit them with ropes and rifles. Then I better see you in the street with a rope and a rifle on November 6th, or I'm going to consider you complicit, because you are. I never thought that I would be this guy. Right. Yep. 5 new DOJ charges, investigate. Right. And they don't have time to work any of this through the courts. They don't. They will stop at nothing. They will continue to harass him, even assuming he assumes mental power in the Oval Office. They will harass him for another 4 years. Doesn't matter. Make them earn it. Step up and make them earn it, or I will consider you complicit. Telling you to vote over and over and over again. Okay, fine. I didn't want to be that guy either, but this is where we are. Because nothing is more important going into November. Not because of the man. Not because of the whore. But because of the policies that they are representing. And that is going to take me to bullet point number 2. Open borders, Venezuelan apartment management, and Haitian pet recipes. Bullet point number 2. We're just going to jump right into that. Only one candidate, and he's going to right. It's he's going to have to get Congress to play ball. That border has got to be closed. Getting back to the wrath of the awakened Saxon, Western civilization is under siege here and in Mother Europe. It is absolutely under siege. This is not something that's open for discussion anymore. This is not something that we can agree to disagree on anymore. The people who are flooding across that border are a scathing detriment to this country because they are not vetted. Because they are not vetted. I'm going to pull this up. I wish I had pulled this up earlier. But I'm going to have it here, or I would like to have it here. You know what? I'm just going to roll with it. Prior to the 1920s, everything that they tell you about us being a nation, we're a nation of immigrants. We're a melting pot. We're a melting pot. Yes, we're a nation of immigrants. We are legal immigrants. In 60 years at Ellis Island, 60 years, we processed 12 million immigrants. Until the 1920s, 90% of those immigrants came from 3 countries, England, Ireland, and Germany. Shin, how nice of you to show up right when we start drawing distinctions between good and bad immigrants. I freaking love you, man. It's good to see you. Do not let them gaslight you with this stuff anymore. There are things that they state as self-evident truths that are absolutely and abjectly false. And we can't allow them to slide with that anymore. We can no longer agree to disagree anymore. It has gone too far. We are a nation of immigrants. No. We are a melting pot. No. No, we are not. Not the way that you phrase it. Specificity counts. Get in their faces. Spit in their faces if necessary and let them know that we are not tolerating the lies anymore. We're not just rolling over and letting you speak. Or my all-time favorite, diversity is our strength. Really. We're going to be talking a lot about that next week. In fact, after we get done talking about Napoleon's penis and a sword fight with John Dillinger, we're going to jump right on into the actual statistics of the so-called melting pot that we were supposed to be. Until the 1920s, 90% of immigrants came from 3 countries, England, Ireland, and Germany. Then, in the 1920s, it shifted slightly, and they started bringing in Poles and Russians and Italians. And here's the thing. Even with that slight shift, this is why cultural compatibility counts. This is why the narrative that they are presenting is utter bullshit. Cultural compatibility counts. When all of your immigrants are coming from those same three countries, which are largely Christian and Catholic, and largely white, and all white, all European, speaking languages that are largely derived from the same root language, things are going to go very smoothly, especially when that group of people are vetted, that the diseased and the criminals are tossed out on their asses unceremoniously and without forgiveness. And in 60 years, they processed 12 million. 12 million. When it started to turn to Poles, when it started to turn to Russians and Italians, and they wanted to assimilate, they had problems assimilating because of the minor cultural differences. Russia is a largely Christian country, but culturally they're more Byzantine than European, culturally speaking. Sonny, if you take issue with that, feel free to jump in, because I could be wrong. But my historical understanding is that culturally they're more Byzantine than what we understand to be European. And there were problems. So what hope do you think we have of flooding this country in just 3 years with 9 million? What did I say? 12 million over 60 years, all vetted. We dumped 9 million in 3 years, none of them vetted, coming from countries that have no tangible cultural ties to America or Europe. In fact, from cultures that couldn't be more incompatible. And we just leave the door open? Enough. What about the children? You ready? Brace yourself. What about the children? I don't care. Jeez, Bart, that's horrible. Think about what I'm saying and what I'm not saying. The children that they are bringing across, this isn't about separating children from their families. They are trafficking these children for labor and for sex. They are trafficking these children. So if I'm truly going to be compassionate to children, because we all care so much about the children, especially you guys on the left, don't separate them from their families and all that. If I'm truly going to be compassionate, would I rather have them hungry in their own country or being repeatedly raped on a daily basis in a country they've never been? Ponder that and get back to me about compassion. You know nothing, and I will not have that thrown up at me anymore. Get comfortable spitting in these people's faces. That might be the only cultural legacy that Hawk Tua girl ever leaves, is making it okay to in people's faces again. So thank you for that, anonymous person whose 15 minutes are up. This is the point. It has now become abundantly clear. No, I'm not going to backtrack. It has now become abundantly clear exactly the threat that these people represent. In Aurora, Colorado. And you ready for this one? And I'm going to punch this one up. And Ryan, you'll be interested in this one. Because the FBI and Homeland Security just issued a memo. Tren de Aragua, that Venezuelan gang that took over the apartment complex, is plural in Aurora, Colorado, that we were told isn't happening. And then the videos came out and we did. We were right. Again, they are. Again. And law enforcement doesn't have the inclination or the resources to take them on. Again, Ryan, let your boys out in West Texas know, and anybody else who happens to be watching, that the FBI just issued a memo with regard to Tren de Aragua. They are hitting and stealing from oil field sites in West Texas in the Permian Basin. All of the Permian Basin has been put on Homeland Security alert because organized criminal activity, people are showing up with guns, they are stealing equipment, they are stealing money, they are assaulting employees, and any number of other things. But the border is 100% under control, and even if it weren't, diversity is our strength. So why are we worried about it? The chickens have come home to roost right now, people. And again, and again, let's get back to Springfield, Ohio. And the fact checkers, of course, have told us that they're not really eating park animals and pets and things like that because, we can count on the media to be honest about those things. This is the same media that tells us that the border's under control and that Aurora is not under siege from Venezuelan migrants. Are you finally getting around to the idea that we can't take a single word that comes out of these people's mouths seriously? I think we're all on that page. But residually, we have a lot of people out there that still have the Pollyanna factor. That Pollyanna factor comes back to those important root statistics that we are a melting pot. We are not. That we are a nation of immigrants. We are a nation of white European immigrants. There are plenty of folks here, right? The Kurds. There are plenty of folks here, right, that have come over legally that want to assimilate. The Ellis Island model, you wouldn't hear a peep out of me. You wouldn't hear a peep out of me. If they were to Berlin Wall the entire southern border and make the standard the same as it was for Ellis Island, you would not hear a peep out of me, not one. But we cannot sustain this. Springfield, Oregon has become, or not Springfield, Oregon, sorry, wishful thinking. Springfield, Ohio has become the test case now. They are a city of 60,000 people. And in the last 3 years, they have had 20,000 Haitian, almost exclusively Haitian immigrants dumped into their town. How's it holding up? In spite of the gaslighting, how's it really holding up? And eventually it's getting to the point where even CNN is having to acknowledge it. So how bad do you think it really is? We cannot sustain this. That's two different arguments, Ryan. That's actually two different arguments. Okay. Same people saying white European nation, same one proclaiming Christian as European, right? And we've been over that. Christianity is not a European religion, obviously, not a European religion, right? But the principles of Christianity and Catholicism have been the cultural and religious glue that have held European civilization together, right? And yeah, you've probably got quite a few that are not sensing the disconnect there. And I think a lot of those people tend to be on the stiff arm salute side, white Christian European. Well, no, hold up there, Festus. Not exactly. But yeah, no, Christianity certainly isn't a European religion. Anyone who would postulate that is out of their effing mind. And you probably do have some people that are proclaiming the cultural integrity of white Europeans and the glories of the West and all that don't realize that Christianity is not natively a European religion. So yeah, you probably got a crossover, but I think it's just as dishonest to deny that Christianity and Catholicism were the cultural and spiritual glue that have held Europe together over the years. I mean, that's self-evident. So there's that. Where the hell was I? Here in the States, they're crushing us, man. They're crushing us. And even the Pollyannas are slipping off the fence. So the ones that hang on to it, in spite of all the visual evidence, get comfortable spitting in their face. Gosh, bro, you think it's a little harsh? No, I don't think it's nearly harsh enough. I think the level of physical violence we should visit on these people when they spew this ignorance. On Planet Bart, they get unceremoniously slapped in the face without a word. Without a word. Diversity is our strength. Whack! And just look at them. See if they repeat it. And if they do, you give them the same treatment. Because these people are on the same intellectual level as misbehaving dogs right now. No, take that back. Dogs will be corrected with enough conditioning. With enough conditioning that doesn't involve whacking them with a newspaper. Dogs can be corrected. These people are beyond help. Make them pay for it. Every time these misguided altruisms escape their face, make them pay for it. Spit in their face, laugh in their face, slap their face, clown them publicly, embarrass them, drag them into deep water and drown them if they're doing that coffee shop intellectual thing. You pull it all out. You lay it all out for them, and you back them into a corner and make them call you a racist or a bigot because that's all they have. Or, smarter, get up, turn around, and leave the premises. These people should not be in your life anymore. These people should not be in your life anymore. There is too much at stake going forward. If you want the entire country to go the way of Aurora, Colorado, if you want the entire country to go the way of Springfield, Ohio, you want the entire country to look like a border town, then please, by all means, continue to vote the way you do, advocate the way you do, pray that they leave the borders open. But sooner or later, like it did in Europe, this is the problem with the Pollyanna factor. And ladies, I hope you're listening. Because they open the doors, because after all, they're just like us, and people are basically the same, and God made all people the same and just dressed them in different colors, and all cultures are basically equal. And how many women raped? Brutally. And then, if they were fortunate, murdered. We have to start getting down to some hard truths, boys and girls. I would gladly piss away every single person in my fan base. I would gladly piss away every single friend or family member in my circle before I will carry on these lies anymore. I don't care who you are or how close you are to me. I'm not tolerating this anymore. You're dismissed. You can have your empty virtue. I'm going to lean on walking in truth. And for the defense of the West that has given you the privilege you have to even exist with the comfort level you have. You want to piss that away, do it on your own time. Don't ask me to come along for the ride. Burn in hell. Every last one of you. I don't care. Past it. Diversity is our strength. Give me another bullet point. I got to get off of this. Everything that they are telling you. Everything that they are telling you. That is a right-wing talking point. That is a neo-Nazi dog whistle. Everything. Give it 2 weeks and it'll be accepted fact, and then they'll be backpedaling on how, well, yeah, okay, we were wrong. It actually is happening, but stop. Just stop. There's no point in having this discussion anymore. In fact, I'm ashamed of the fact that I've spent the last 20 minutes on it, because you either get it or you don't. You either get it or you don't. You either get it or you don't. Guys, depending on how this thing goes in November, you may be seeing a hell of a lot less of me on here, because I'm done. I'm really done. Hey, Jude. Lucky you, man. Rack up that OT, Bubba. Rack it up. Yeah, right. Okay, it's happening, but it's rare. Okay, it's happening, but here's why it's a good thing. Right. See, classic grazer backpedal. You're totally making too much out of it. That is not happening. Okay, well, it is happening, but I mean, it's not anything like you're making it out. Okay, well, it is happening. It's exactly what you're making out, but you know, but it's good. I'm glad that it's happening. What is it Bongino says? Man, there is no way that's happening, but it's a damn good thing that it is. I'm frustrated, people. Some of you guys have been wondering what's really going on with me, man, and I've got some things going on in my own, I've got some things going on in my own personal life right now. That's part of why fellowshipping with people who are brothers and sisters in Christ has given me a lot of strength. But I am really, part of me is very flustered about where we're at culturally, and part of me is just like, I don't care. God's got it. Yeah. We get it all, but we stay right. We don't, easy with the use of the word we, but in the sense of any group uprising, yeah. When was the last time white people took it to the streets? When was the last time white people took it to the streets when some white girl gets gang raped and killed by a pack of illegal savages? Oh, that happened? Yeah, it happened on the 33rd of February. That's when that happened. We don't riot. It's probably a good thing that we're not what we're consistently being told that we are. Violent, hateful, racist, hair-triggered, looking for a reason. Okay, let's just concede and say that we were. If the left wanted peace, there would be peace. If the right wanted war, there would be no left. Let me say that again. If the left wanted peace, there would be peace. If the left seriously wants what they say they want, this bipartisan, this group hug thing, if they really wanted that, because of what Ryan just described, because we're accepting, even to the point of our own detriment, if they really wanted peace, there would be peace. If we really wanted war, there would be no left. We have all of the spines, all of the balls, all of the testosterone, and 90% of the guns. If we were what they say we are, but taking it back to the opener, go back and read it. We haven't gotten there yet. And Ryan, I know, because we've had the conversation, I know that reasonable people have their doubts. Reasonable people have their doubts at this point that anybody's even going to level up. But I saw a bunch of unarmed dudes in the UK actually take it to the street. They got put down hard, but I don't think that's going to be the last time. I think we're just getting started, particularly the damn Irish. Say what you want about those limey Brits, but particularly the Irish. I don't think we've seen the last of that. And we haven't even seen the beginning here. What happened in Aurora? Who rolled up? What did they not talk about? Hell's Angels and bandits. Angels and bandits riding into Aurora. Ryan, see if you can remember back, because I know you do. Right after Katrina, when all those thugs from the lower Ninth Ward in NOLA wound up in Sharpstown. How'd that play out? Not too well for the lower Ninth Ward. You remember. Gunplay in broad effing daylight. What do you think's going to happen when these Venezuelan gangs start moving in on territory on the Crips and the Bloods? Some of the American gangs, we already got to see a little bit of that in Aurora. I say that to say this. All bets are off right now, people. No one is coming to save you. But you better damn well be willing to accept reality and be willing to save yourself. A lot of those whites, a lot of those weak-ass white boys, Ryan, you've heard me say this before, they ain't wood. They ain't wood. They're freaking particle board, right? A lot of those white boys, they're not going to jump out because they're still worried about how they're going to be perceived. Well, the whole system's going to come down on me anyway. All right, cool. So you're just going to lay back and watch your women get raped? You're just going to lay back and let your kids get killed? That's what we're about now? You'd rather be dead than racist. Better yet, you'd rather be dead than thought racist. That's your moral compass. I believe in what Kipling said. I believe it'll come. But then again, I'm telling you to vote, and none of you guys think that's going to do any damn good either. So that's all right. I'll just step it on. I'll just step it on back, because you either get it or you don't. Kind of spinning my wheels today, man. Kind of spinning my wheels today. I really don't know. Some days you wake up and you just got so much burning you up in your head that you don't even want to try to articulate it, because no matter how good your wordsmith skills are, you can't. It just comes out like, ah. Today's one of those days, man. Straight up. But I'm trying to put a frame around the frustration. What we are looking at in the United States is exactly what they are looking at in Europe right now. That landlord in Aurora had to sell his complex, and he was only the first of many. And this is what Mike Hoffman did, the mayor of Aurora. They were going to close down apartment complexes. They were going to totally close them down as a result of all the Venezuelan gang activity. And then the left leaned on them and said, well, what about all those poor, starving immigrants you're going to put out? The families. What about the families? There are no families, bro. There are no families here. I want you to look that up. Aurora won't close more apartments allegedly affected by Venezuelan gangs. Mayor Mike Kaufman. Despicable. Absolutely despicable what's happening. And it's right there in our backyard. And we can see it with our own eyes, and we can hear it with our own ears. Thank you, right? Hear it with our own ears. Party told you to reject the evidence. The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. It's working. It's working for the Pollyannas. It's not working for people like us. So that puts a heavier responsibility on our shoulders, doesn't it? If anyone's going to act, it has to be us. You need to figure out right now where your line in the sand is. For me, it's guns. It's always been guns. Been guns since I was in high school. You come for the guns, all right, you get them. Bullets first. That's my hard line in the sand. But there are other lines that I'm having to draw right now too, because I cannot sit back and watch this continue to go on. And I guarantee you, a lot more people are thinking about this. A lot more people are thinking about this throughout the country. People that never thought they'd be thinking about it because they're seeing this in their own backyard. Don't mistake their silence for complacency. Sooner or later, you are going to have acts of brutal violence happening right in your own backyard that are going to be committed by people that just a week before were working at the freaking Dairy Queen. Nothing's more dangerous than somebody with nothing left to lose. So when I say I'm going to continue to vote, I'm going to continue to participate in the system, maybe that is just desperation on my part. Maybe it is. Maybe a more constructive effort will be to get out and start cracking skulls. Maybe. Maybe I'm old. Maybe I'm flustered. What I'm not is afraid. I'm not afraid of the consequences of righteous actions. I'm not afraid of the consequences of speaking truth, no matter how uncomfortable that truth is. I'm not afraid of walking through this life alone if I have to. Because I'm scripturally commanded, do not be afraid. So even if that inclination were wired into me, I couldn't do it. I love who I love. And I hate who I hate and what I hate. There's a very clear line between the two. We were up against it here, man. I don't even know where the hell I was going with all of this. I want to get to Besmenov before we get out of here. He's just ready to shut the hell up right now because I don't think I'm bringing anything to the party. I'm going to leave you with this before we go to Besmenov. Even CNN, after this Permian Basin thing, had to acknowledge it. This is the title of the article. You guys can Google it yourselves. This is the dangerous Venezuelan gang infiltrating the U.S. that you probably know nothing about but should. That is the name of the article. And it goes into Tren de Agua. How they are the new MS-13. And we're not even prepared. But you better be. Dovetail a couple of things and get the hell out of here. You better be prepared. September is National Preparedness Month, and it doesn't have to be a social collapse, and it doesn't have to be gang infiltration, and it doesn't have to be a nuclear war, and it doesn't have to be this, and it doesn't have to be that. Have something put aside, people. Have something put aside. I am going to go through tonight and I am going to repost a couple of things on my personal page and a couple of things on my fan page on Facebook that are prepper tips, including one long one that Ida was kind enough to send to me in a link when I lost track of it. For people who are coming to it, they're late to the party. They don't know how to scramble and how to prepare. Prices have already... No, it's far from that, brother. It's far from that. It's not that, man. I already know. I already know who's got my back. And I hope I didn't come off like that. I know who's in the circle, man. Just today, I don't feel like I'm really hitting on all cylinders. That's basically what it is, man. That's basically what it is. Normally, I'm just a little more coherent, a little more cohesive. And today, I'm just not. Today, I'm not feeling it, man. Yeah, I'm not feeling it. But I'm not going to phone it in. I'm at least going to bring something. So I got something to, there's something here. National Preparedness Month, guys. I hope you guys are taking the time to put some things back. I'm going to post a couple of things on my personal page, on my fan page, that are going to give you some guidelines about stuff that you need to have put away. You guys need to be looking at survival blog, James Wesley Rawls survival blog. You guys need to be reading that every day. And if you're a fan of mine, you should have been reading it every day for years now. He is the heir apparent to Mel Tappan, who was a survivalist guru from when I got into it back in the day. And it's solid advice. Remember your 3 B's: beans, bullets, and Band-Aids. And I add a 4th B to that: bleach. Beans, bullets, and Band-Aids. Beans, your food, obviously. Bullets speak for themselves. Band-Aids, medical supplies. And bleach, which is to include bleach, antibacterial soap, disinfectants, that kind of stuff. Your 4 B's. Make sure you have those things squared away, people. This is a month where we start taking them. And on my personal page, I've been given a tip every couple of days. Just something. A little poke into your bread oven. I just added an emergency trauma kit to my already traveling first aid kit, right? So you're never 100% complete, even on Planet Bart. Things that you need to be thinking about going forward. That is correct. And this is something I'm going to leave you a homework assignment about. 2 things that I'm going to leave you a homework assignment about. Because we're talking about Preparedness Month. This was the guy who was in office when I first got into prepping and being a prepper and a survivalist. This was the man in office. I went and watched that biopic that they did. Obviously, because it's a biopic, they're going to leave out some things that may have painted Mr. Reagan in a negative light. But I look very fondly back on the Reagan era. I look very fondly back on what it felt like to be an American under his watch. For you guys that lived through that, for you guys who were around for that, guys like Bill, you remember. It felt like being an American meant something under Reagan's watch. And I don't think we've had anything approximating it since then. I went and saw the biopic. It was really, really good. I'm going to recommend that for anybody if you got a minute, and especially if you lived through the era. If you didn't live through the era, don't waste your time, because it's going to be a lot of stuff that you're not going to get. It's a generational thing, man, particularly the background of his speechwriter and the speech there in Berlin, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, and it goes into his activities with the House Un-American Activities Committee and busting up communists that were involved in the Screen Actors Guild in Hollywood, and that's a whole other rabbit hole to go down. If you weren't around and you weren't already a fan of Reagan, I'll tell you the truth, you're not going to get much out of it. But for guys that did live through it, and I still remember what it was like to have that crazy cowboy in the White House, when it felt like it meant something to be an American, when nobody effed with us. Oh, yeah, what about the bombing in Beirut? Oh, yeah, dude, they bombed the Marine barracks. How'd that work out for the guys that did it? Right. What about the discotheque bombing in Germany? Yeah, how'd that work out for Gaddafi? Reagan started making some phone calls. Well, I need to know who's responsible. And Bill Casey, director of the CIA, got back to him. Mr. Reagan, it's these people who are tied to these people who are tied to these other people who are tied back to Libya. And 72 hours later, we bombed the piss out of Libya, killed Gaddafi's kid, killed Gaddafi's newborn son in his crib, did not apologize. And Muammar Gaddafi, who was at the time the leading state sponsor of terror in the world, promptly shut up for about 36 years. That was Ronald Reagan. If you lived through it and you were a fan, go see the film. If you didn't live through it, you're not going to get anything out of it. You'd probably be better off reading a book or watching some YouTube videos. But here's another thing that came out of the Reagan era, and I'm going to leave you with this because this is important. Dealing with the power of propaganda, and we are seeing the power of the propaganda ministry at work right now. We're seeing it. They're working overtime. We know how the optics roll. We know how the mainstream media is going to present it. Oh, look at this huge crowd that turned out at the Kamala Harris, speech. And then we go on the internet and we see all the people, and we see, the buses that are bringing these people in. We know how it works, but it's very, very powerful, man. It'll shake some people up. Here's some things I want you to get on. And this is something, even for people that are already pretty aware of the propaganda, communist propaganda in particular, because that is what we're facing again. Speaking of Reagan, because Reagan was the guy that actually called the Soviet Union the evil empire. Well, they were an evil empire, but that had nothing to do with the Russian people. That had to do with the communist tyranny that they were under at the time. Because communism is an existential evil. Period. End of statement. Done. I don't care what your college professor told you, Sparky. Socialism inevitably leads to communism, and communism inevitably leads to mass graves. There is nothing equitable about it. It is an evil that cannot be disagreed with. It must be fought and extinguished wherever it pops up. So I bring you to Yuri Besmenov. Yuri Besmenov was a former agent for the KGB. He defected to the United States, and he went over all of the things that the KGB was doing then, and we are paying the price for it now. This is some of the stuff that he was saying in 1984, but we are only now seeing it come to fruition. They planted the Marxist ideology in the universities, in entertainment, in the media. They planted all of these things to take us apart from the inside out. And then the very government that had planted those seeds fell apart. But that didn't kill the seeds. And those seeds are coming to fruition right now. So it stands to reason that we should revisit some of this stuff. Demoralization, destabilization, crisis, and then normalization. The same formula gets repeated. I want you guys to look up Yuri Besmenov. I want you guys to tear down a YouTube rabbit hole and look at every single thing you can get your hands on this man. And whether or not you're aware of the sinister machinations of propaganda ministry, you are going to get something out of it. Things that you see going on in the media, things that you see going on in college is going to make more sense to you. The highest art of warfare is not to fight at all, but to subvert anything of value in the country of your enemy until such time that the perception of reality of your enemy is screwed up to such an extent that he does not perceive you as an enemy. You can take your enemy without a single shot being fired. Any of that sound vaguely familiar? And it occurs to me the irony that I'm wearing a freaking Spetsnaz shirt. Just to let you know that my problem is with communism and not the Russian people. But this should bring it home for you. And I'm going to leave you with these next two, and we're going to get on out of here. The useful idiots, the leftists who are idealistically believing in the beauty of the Soviet socialist or communist or whatever system, when they get disillusioned, they become the worst enemies. That's why my KGB instructors specifically made the point. Never bother with leftists. Forget about these political prostitutes. Aim higher. They serve a purpose only at the stage of destabilization of a nation. And that is the phase that we're in. When you look that up, when you look up Yuri Besmenov on what that is the phase that we are in, they serve a purpose only at the stage of destabilization. For example, your leftists in the United States, all these professors and these beautiful civil rights defenders, they are instrumental in the process of subversion only to destabilize a nation. Where their job is completed, they are not needed anymore. They know too much. Some of them, when they get disillusioned, when they see that Marxist-Leninists have come to power, obviously they get offended. They think that they will come to power. That will never happen, of course. They will be lined up against the wall and shot. And the Soviets delivered on that. Communism has always delivered on that. So if you want to take any solace about these maggots, understand that even if we lose, and I have no intention of losing, that they don't get to write their stupid poetry. They get lined up against the wall and shot. All of these people that they are defending right now, it's almost as bad as Queers for Palestine. Do you know what the Soviet Union did to dissidents and homosexuals? Do you know how the Soviet Union treated homosexuals? All of these people are useful idiots. How open was the Soviet Union to migrants from other countries? Rules for thee, but not for me. Even if they win, they lose. But this is the ideology that we are fighting, and this is the one that Besmenov laid out for us. 3/4 of mankind may die if necessary to ensure the other quarter for communism. Destroying the peasant economy, working class guys, you listening? Destroying the peasant economy and driving the peasant from the country to the town. The famine creates a proletariat. It is precisely now and only now when in the starving regions people are eating human flesh and hundreds if not thousands of corpses are littering the roads that we can and therefore must carry out the confiscation of church valuables with the most savage and merciless energy, not stopping short of crushing any resistance. He continued, the greater the number of representatives of the reactionary clergy and reactionary bourgeoisie we succeed in executing for this reason, the better. That was Vladimir Lenin. If communism had founding fathers, he was one of them. This is the ideology, no matter what face it comes clad in, whether it's a pride flag or a Black Lives Matter or a help the poor or no hate, no fear, refugees are welcome here. Understand what it is. That is why there is no agreeing to disagree anymore. They want you dead. I'd respect them more if they came out and said it. I'd respect other people more if they had the intellectual honesty to demand that it be said. But they will not. And the Pollyannas will not be persuaded. Disengage. Get your house in order. Square your ass up and get ready to fight. What's the old joke? Fight like you're the third monkey trying to get onto Noah's Ark, and brother, it is starting to rain. Well, brother, it is starting to rain. In Columbus, Ohio, it is starting to rain. In Aurora, Colorado, it is starting to rain. In Butler, Pennsylvania, it is starting to rain. In farms all over the state of Idaho, it is starting to rain. Figuratively, it'd be better if it were literally, because their water supplies have been cut off by this same system and this same set of demands. Do you understand what I'm saying? Water to farms is being directed to lithium mines. It is starting to rain in the state of Oregon right now, where they just blew 6 dams on the lower Klamath River to preserve some salmon that weren't even in danger. And in the process, they took away sustainable power from hydroelectric, and they took away irrigation for farms that feed not salmon, but people. It's starting to rain. So get comfortable getting wet, because you're going to be soaked to the bone by the time this is over with, and you better be soaked to the bone and still ready to fight. And if not, get your ass under the awning, put an umbrella over your head, and get the hell out of the way for the rest of us. I don't have time for you, bro. I don't have time. If I'm going to masturbate, I'm going to do it with my flesh and not my intellect. You tracking, Sparky? There is no agree to disagree. I will open my eyes. I will look at the truth. I will call the truth what it is, and I will open my eyes and see evil and call evil for what it is. And the truth and evil are irreconcilable. So spare me the BS about agreeing to disagree. You're wrong. Period. Full stop. And I am ready to make you pay for it. So if you come to me with your milquetoast ideology, and you come to me and my circle, men like Ryan, men like Bill, men like Shinde, you come to us with that half-baked agree to disagree, and by the way, we're raping your kids and killing your culture, I hope you packed a lunch. It's going to be a bad day for you, son. The good news is it's probably going to be a short one. I'm going to close with a prayer. Lord God, I thank you. I thank you for every gift and especially for every adversity, because it's adversities that make us who we are, and we all know that. I thank you for the good men in my circle, Lord. I thank you for the reach that I have with these good men. I thank you for their trust in me, Lord. Let me not fail them by failing to utilize my gifts in the manner for which they were given to me. Help us all, Lord, going forward. I pray, and people can think what they want to about how it comes off. I pray for my nation. I pray for its leaders. I pray for this civilization that we've established on your behalf on this earth to carry forth those values. I pray for the light of truth to reach people who can still be reached. But most of all, I pray for the strength and the courage for the fight to those that haven't already instilled it in themselves, Lord. There are a lot of people out here down, and there's not one of us who are immune from doubt, myself included. All these great men in my circle included. There's not one of us that don't have those moments where we sit back and we're like, hey, man, am I really up for this? But through the light of truth and the unequivocal trust in your will and your plan, we will find that faith and we will find that strength. Not everybody is so duly blessed, Lord, but I pray that they would be. I pray that they would be in time for the fight to come, because it's knocking on our doorstep right now, Lord. Sometimes it's difficult for me to even articulate, but I'm going to give it my best anyway, Lord. Help me to touch hearts, touch souls, and pull the scales from eyes, Lord. Pull the scales from eyes. Because, Lord, in my estimation, I don't think it's an inability to see what's right in front of them. I think it's an unwillingness, Lord. I think some people have had those scales on their eyes for so long that it's become an integral part of their anatomy, and they're going to have to be yanked out. They're going to have to be yanked out like pulling an abscessed tooth. It's that much a part of them, Lord. Give me the strength for that. And give them the clarity to realize that when we pull the scales from those eyes, that it is a gift that we are giving them and not a curse that we're laying at their feet, Lord. Again, I pray strength for the fight and for clarity and discernment always, because the deceiver will lay those traps, and all he can do is plant those seeds. Help me to have that discernment so those seeds that he plants don't take root in my head, that I can see my way through to the truth under all circumstances, Lord. Clarity and discernment always. And I pray that all of those that love me and all of those that I love and those men in my circle be blessed. May your protective hand be over them. May the fire of your will guide their every action, Lord. I pray in the name of the risen Christ whom I ever served. Amen. I love y'all. Thank you for being here. You guys are amazing. Appreciate it. I'll pass the plate around. You guys want to kick me down some coin, that would be cool. I'm hoping some things are going to be coming through, and I'm going to be back to work very, very shortly. Don't forget, guys, your homework assignment is Yuri Besmenov. I'm not even making that up. I want you guys to be familiar with it. And your other homework assignment is I want you to have The Wrath of the Awakened Saxon off book and memorized in the next 4 weeks. How about that? I'm going to come at you like a college professor while I'm passing that plate around. Yeah, I'll watch them take their... Oh, I was going to make an offering, but heck with that, man. You're making us work for it now. Forget it. Anyway, I want everybody here to have Wrath of the Awakened Saxon off book and recitable in the next 4 weeks. How's that? That's pretty reasonable. Particularly you guys who are products of European blood and Western civilization. That's the homework assignment. But for tonight, Yuri Besmenov, go on a little dive, and don't forget the actual rabbit hole, which is Finland doesn't exist. Don't look at the case. Look at how he put it together and how he orchestrated it to make those little tweaks. Learn that stuff, man. Because the minute you think you're above it, or the minute you think you've got a total grip and understanding about how they play those games, that's when you're vulnerable to the game. That's when you get took. All right? Don't ever get that arrogant. Bury that pride, y'all. Bury that pride. We all know our 7 deadlies. That's the one that I'm vulnerable. One of 3 that I'm really vulnerable to. Pride, lust, and wrath. Got to bury that pride. Realize what you don't know before you can capitalize on what you do. Right? Yep. Add in if also. Yes. If. That's a little, yeah, that one's going to be a little more wordy, but yeah. I'll tell you what, we'll make if extra credit. How about that? That work? I love you, Ryan. I love all you guys, man. Thank you. Any of you read Imperium? Hey, now we're talking. If you guys have not read Francis Parker Yockey or Oswald Spengler, y'all should probably get on that as well. Am I Reverend Bart now, or am I Professor Bart? I don't know, man. I don't know. We're doing a little something. I love y'all, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. I am going to pass the plate around. I'm on Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, all that good stuff. If you can drop me something, that's cool. But I do understand that we are still in a Harris economy because Biden hadn't been running the show for a long time. For at least a couple more months, we're going to be in that Harris economy. So a lot of guys ain't going to have much to spare, and I totally get that. But here's what you can do for me. You can tell other people about it. Tell other people about the show. Tell other people about me. Tell other people about my blog, my Substack. Spread the word, man. Help us get out there and spread the gospel. All my reverence rangers, my prophets of doom, my sinner sisters out there, man. Get out there and spread the word, man. Take it to a broader audience. Because the more reach we have, the more scales we can pull out of more eyes. And we got a title fight coming, y'all. We're going to need all hands on deck. Y'all feel me? I know you feel me on that. Love every one of y'all, man. Thank you so much for that. Also, here's what you can do. Not just for me, but for yourselves. Talking about the mighty, mighty stone. What does he say? Live the 3. Live the 3. What are you talking about, live the 3? I'm talking about the 3 prime directives, y'all. I'm talking about being that signal in a world full of noise. They'll bury you with the noise, trying to make you think there's nothing in the world but noise. You have got to punch that signal through the noise. Get the important stuff through all the BS and put that signal through the noise. You've got to be that light in a world full of darkness. They will try to bury you with the darkness. Demoralize, dehumanize, emasculate you with the darkness. Make you think there's nothing left in the world but darkness. You have got to be the one to carry that light through the darkness and punch that light through the darkness to the other side, which leads me to the 3rd rule, the iron rule, the most important of the 3-pronged directives. I'm talking about the iron rule. You have got to be strength in a world full of weakness, and I'm not just talking about this kind of strength. This kind of strength is easy. But I'm not just talking about here. I'm talking about here. I'm talking about here, and even here, people. Why is strength so important? Why? Because without strength, you will not have the punch to get that signal through the noise. Without strength, you will not have the grit to punch that light through the darkness or the tenacity to carry that light in the darkness. So without strength, it's all about nothing. And when you pray for strength, pray for clarity, and pray for discernment, because the games of the deceiver are out there looking to trip you up. There are whole machines built on tripping you up and playing with your head and fooling you. Be equipped, brother. Boss Man's got the plan, Carpenter's got your back, and I'm here for you too. I love every one of y'all, man. God bless y'all for being here. God bless y'all for being here. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Find that strength, man. Get through. We'll see y'all next Sunday. God willing, we're going to see y'all next Sunday or Monday. Be patient. Love y'all. God bless.